Welcome to the HubFizz EcoBiz show, where you can get ideas to grow your business and make it greener. And today I'm joined by Dominic Richards from Zentive Agency, and we're talking about sustainability in the events industry and how to create more sustainable events. So welcome, Dominic. Great to have you on the show.
Hey, Karen. Yep, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
So just a little bit about Zentive. They are a sustainable event agency. They look at every stage of the event management process with sustainability in mind. So they're proactively making sustainable changes during the conception, the planning, the delivery, and also the review of the event. So what led you to found a sustainable event agency?
Yeah, good question. I guess sustainability has always been very important to me. When I was younger, I was always trying to reduce my kind of impact on the planet, try to reuse and be more efficient. And then when I went into the event industry, I tried to kind of bring that element into events I did, and also try and spread the word throughout the industry. And then the pandemic happened. And kind of when COVID happened, the industry got hit quite bad, as you can imagine. But what it did show us was kind of the world wouldn't be that great without meetings and events. So that's kind of where we're going if we don't change our behaviors. The events industry is quite a culprit in that kind of area, producing quite a large emissions. I mean, we're talking about delegates flying all over the world to get to the events, huge amounts of food and energy used at the events, and also sometimes quite a lot of waste at the end of the events. So I thought, why not start an agency that looks to create events that are more sustainable and try and reduce their impact on the planet? And what better time to do it than right after a pandemic? And that's what I did.
Brilliant. And so yeah, I think it's such a great idea. And obviously there's a lot more people kind of online now, and you're trying to create this kind of hybrid of meeting in person, meeting online and everything as well. But, how can one still be sustainable while delivering innovative and future thinking events and still achieve growth and prosper?
Yeah, so of course, like the virtual side of things is probably the most sustainable way you could do it. But after 2 years of doing it, a lot of people want to go back in person. And that's what we've been finding a lot recently. How we advise our clients is that really you want to kind of start as early as possible. And you want to be looking at every element of the event from a sustainability point of view. And we could sometimes see there's a bit of a higher investment at the beginning. I mean, when you invest in certain technologies, but that will kind of pay off later down the line. And there are also lots of cost-effective ways of being more sustainable. Small kind of changes, just behavioral changes, or just switching little things, which you can do at really no additional cost, but will make the event at the end of the day a lot more sustainable. I mean, at the end of the day, if you think about it, a lot of the principles of sustainability, kind of reducing and reusing, are quite cost effective anyway. So if you're looking at that kind of bottom line, that works really well. And nowadays you have kind of seen there's a lot of evidence showing that you will get financial reward by looking at sustainability, and that the pros of just being more sustainable will just impact not only that kind of financial side of things, but also there's a direct impact on your employees. There's kind of that direct impact of your employees will feel more happy. Your employees will feel more well-being at the company. I think I even saw a recent article that said that over 50% of employees wouldn't take a job at a company that didn't have a sustainability policy in place, or didn't actually look to align their operations with like ESG principles. So there's a lot of reasons to go down that route.
Yeah, I think that's you're right on the mark there. When I was doing a workshop last week, sort of talking about making all about green digital, being more green online, and making your website more sustainable and everything as well. And everyone goes, oh, well, that's nice, and it's good for the planet, but how's it going to help my business? But actually, you're right. So that, the less storage space you're using, the more efficient it is, the quicker you're working, the smarter you're working, the faster your website loads. the less storage space you're paying for. So there's all these little things that you think, well, actually, you're reducing here, there, and everywhere. It's actually having multiple ripple, impacts. So yeah,
Sure.
so I can see in the event industry why that's a really key thing as well. And what are the different levels of the process you have to take into consideration, from planning to suppliers to delivery, and how do you ensure that they're sustainable?
Yeah, so I mean, as you mentioned at the kind of beginning of the show, we look at every kind of stage. Like as a sustainable event agency, we look at every kind of part of that event management process. So every element of the event. So you're starting with the conception of the event itself. So when you're brainstorming, you want to be thinking about ways of kind of reducing the emissions from the get-go. It just guarantees you kind of set off in the right direction and sets that tone for the rest of that process, for the event itself. And then when you're going through that process, you're looking at your suppliers. You can vet those suppliers by looking, either having a formal vetting process or just checking out their environmental sustainability policies, ensuring that their values align with yours. And then other elements of the events you want to look at. You want to look at the food and beverage. You want to look at the energy usage of the event itself. That's why if you vet those suppliers, these suppliers will work with you to reduce energy with you, kind of reduce waste with you, to ensure that the event is as sustainable as it can be. General other things you want to be looking at is kind of the registration process, making sure that is as sustainable as possible. The catering at the event itself. So with food and beverage, you want to be looking at kind of zero waste cooking, vegan menus. So going vegan is a very easy way of just flipping something at no cost, really, to make it more sustainable. And then if you work with certain suppliers, you can also redistribute any food surplus, which also kind of benefits your CSR efforts. And then during the event itself, of course, but after the event, you can calculate the carbon. So measure the carbon of the event with your suppliers, with the venue, calculate the carbon. And once you have that total carbon dioxide equivalent, you can then either use that total and offset the emissions to make a carbon neutral event, or you can use that total to work on your event year on year to make sure you're reducing it. So looking at what elements, what kind of parts of the event were producing the most emissions, and look at ways to reduce that.
Brilliant. Yes, it's lots of things to think about, isn't it? And checking sort of it's quite hard, I think, looking at sort of what suppliers, are really doing it properly or giving the right information. So I guess it's quite a lot of background. Well, there's a trust factor, I suppose, as well as actually doing your own research into what.
Yeah, of course.
What those businesses say they're doing.
These policies, you kind of have to trust that they're doing what they've said they're going to do. Otherwise, sometimes you can feel like you're at fault, even though you're not.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things we always ask our guests is, what is your top eco tip?
Yeah, good question. I guess for me, I would say, talk about it with other people. So just keep bringing it at the top of the discussion, sharing information, keep it high on the agenda, and it gets kind of people thinking. And I think a lot of people shy away from it because they think it's a bit of a boring topic, but you would be surprised how receptive people are. I would also say, don't blame me if people avoid you at parties. But at the end of the day, if you talk about it, you learn more. Knowledge is power, and you'll start to realize that when you start to learn, you'll think twice about doing certain things, and then hopefully live a lot more sustainably.
Brilliant. So how can people find out more about you? Do they just or get in touch with you? What's the best way for them to do that?
You can either contact us directly on email, so that's hello@zentiveagency.com, or you can drop us a message on LinkedIn or Instagram, which I'm sure you'll provide details for.
Yeah, brilliant. And also you're available at zentiveagency.com. Is that?
Yes, yeah, zentiveagency.com. Yep.
Brilliant. Oh, well, so interesting. And I love, yeah, I absolutely love what you are doing there. And yeah, wish you all the best in that. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of your tips with us. Yeah, thank you very much. To those of you who are watching live or the replay, you know, all the details are below how to get in touch with Dominic and Zentive Agencies. And you can also subscribe to my newsletter. So I share that out and that. Or subscribe to the channel. Yeah, thank you so much, Dominic.
Thanks for having me, Karen. It's been great. Cheers.